The global theme of this edition of Paris Peace Forum is cooperation in the term of rivalry, and you have chosen to speak about security because, of course, it's a main objective for your country, and it's one of your main challenge to give security to your people, and in a very troubled era. So, Mr. Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here with you today. And I would like to start by saying that we just got EU country report 2 days ago mentioning Kosovo as a country which in Western Balkan 6 is doing a lot of democratic and economic progress alike, and that we have managed to increase employment by 34%. Our exports and FDI doubled in the last 2.5 years, and tax revenues increased by 2/3 without changing fiscal policy, because when people are optimistic, they rather spend than save, which is good for their lives but for the economy of the country as well. And when they see no corruption in the government, they are more ready to pay taxes and contribute. So this is good also for security, because when you have democratic and economic participation of the citizens, everybody is safer and the country is more secure. However, there are not only internal threats to security, there are also external threats to security, and that has to do mainly with the geopolitical times in which we are going through, on one hand, and on the other hand has to do with our particular northern neighbor who does not recognize our country. So less than 2 months ago, on 24th of September exactly, we have had this incursion of a terrorist paramilitary group from Serbia in the north of our country, nearby an Orthodox monastery in Banjska and Zvečan. They have assassinated one Kosovar policeman, and they obviously wanted to cause escalation of larger proportions so they can create a general chaos as a pretext for Serbian army to enter Kosovo. Serbian army has 48 forward operating bases around our border, 20 of them being military, 20 gendarmeria. And it took Jake Sullivan from National Security Council of White House to come out together with Secretary Blinken and say that this amassing of troops around the border of Kosovo with Serbia is unacceptable and they have to withdraw in order to bring us back to a rather peaceful situation with decreased tension. However, the perpetrators of this terrorist attack are vast majority of them at large in Serbia, including the leader of that group, Milan Radojcic, who admitted publicly that he was leading this incursion, but was arrested and then after released within a few hours in the week at the aftermath of this attack. So for security of our country, we have to take care of these Wagner wannabe groups who want to cause destabilization. And on the other hand, we have to really focus on geopolitical situation where we have no alternative, because we don't want to have an alternative except European Union and NATO. But then there are countries who think and do otherwise. So this is also making the situation much more difficult, because obviously Russian Federation was enjoying the destabilization attempts in the Balkans, where they can have a spillover effect by the means of outsourcing of the aggression that they've already done almost 2 years ago in Ukraine. So these are some of the challenges that we're facing, but at the same time, They are part of bigger conflict of our times, and that is the conflict between democracy and autocracy. But I would also say between republic and empire, or republic, democratic republic, and monarchy, or monarchy in authoritarian sense. Because you have this phenomena where certain countries formally are democratic, but if you look inside, you have one leader, one party, one church, no political pluralism, not much care for human rights, not rule of law in place. Therefore, it resembles more like 19th century monarchies. And democracy is fighting not only with autocracy, but also with presidents who are more king wannabe. And I think as a byproduct, we get these security threats in our region and beyond. The last thing that I want to mention is the fact that in every conflict that we encounter these days, Russia and Iran are neither passive nor out. So we have become so interconnected. We get real-time news all of the way. So hybrid war has no demarcation lines. So whenever we see a new conflict emerging, you have certain powers and superpowers who would like see the flame going higher, and they have been working beforehand, enjoying at present, and investing so it continues. That's why there are so many factors and actors that we have to deal with, even when an issue seems local.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. You have mentioned both internal and external factors for security. You're very well known to have heavily fight corruption. And do you think that the battle is won? And do you think that the fight against corruption is one of the basic condition of security and also for the prestige of your country?
One of the good and simple definitions of democracy is having law above politics. Law as an expression of a well-organized society where what we have in common as a rule, as a principle, is above everyone. So there are no individuals and groups who are stronger than the state and society. Corruption, besides being theft, besides being injustice, besides being harmful to the economy and society, also represents a national security threat. Because different autocrats, they want to use the wound of corruption for their destabilization attempts. So wherever you have a corrupted leader of a department in any of the ministries or any of the state agencies, you have a certain vulnerability for national security. So we have to see the danger of corruption also in terms of national security, not only in terms of law violation and harm to the economy.
Thank you. Regarding external factors, do you expect that EU could be a factor of stabilization for your country? And what is your hope or your expectation regarding EU and Kosovo?
Now we have two promises. One promise is from Madam President Ursula von der Leyen about the growth plan, 6 billion euros for the Western Balkan 6. And I wish to see a lot of developmental projects in our region, infrastructural projects, help for small and medium enterprises, help for education and the linkage with labor market, help for connectivity. But on the other hand, we have also another promise pledged by Mr. President Charles Michel that 2030 is the year where EU and Western Balkan 6 get together in this long journey. So we have time and we have substance. And I believe that we should use this in order to get on a track which is irreversible. Of course, I must say for those who want to join EU, because not all the countries have the same passion and desire for EU accession. To this end, I believe that two communities that can help a lot in bringing more EU into Balkans and more of the Balkans into EU are business community and students. Because we have huge diaspora in Western Europe, and many of them...
How many people?
Sorry?
How many people?
Well, every third Kosovar citizen, for example, is not Kosovar resident. 1/3 of them. There are 250,000 in Switzerland, for example, and around 400,000
Most of them in the football team.
Yes, we contribute in football, music, but economy and academia alike. So I think that the pledge of Madam President and Mr. President, von der Leyen and Michel, together with some domestic reforms, which would have as the focus business community and students and professors, is a winning formula.
Do you feel that during the time when the world is concerned by Middle East and by Ukrainian and Russian war, the regards are less important on Kosovo, and it could be a factor of destabilization because you have not so one conflict in every time, and so when the world is looking to Russia, to Ukraine, to Middle East, it could be an opportunity for further destabilization of your country.
I worry. I worry because at the neighborhood of Russian Federation, whatever they would cause new conflicts, they would have to employ their own resources, especially military one. From Baltic countries to Transnistria in Moldova, it is obvious that it would have Kremlin to be invested with its resources, military, financial, and human. Whereas in the Balkans, I think there is an additional risk because Russian Federation can outsource its expansionist hegemonic drive, can do that through official Belgrade and through the different groups like Wagner and Night Wolves who have been seen in the Balkans from Republika Srpska to Serbia. So I worry because it will be more convenient and easy for them to have the spillover effect in the Balkans. Meanwhile, it's not only Russian Federation. For example, Serbia is champion of Chinese investments, and 1/3 of their public debt belongs to China. And Russia and China have some similarities, but also certain differences. You know, Russia wants to see US collapse, whereas China wants to become US.
Yeah.
And here there are these differences which matter a lot, but I believe that EU should have more internal solidarity and understand that we have huge opportunity cost in the next months to come in relation to the Balkans, because what can be done in the Balkans in the next months might not be possible in next few years.
Some years ago, there is a negotiation or discussion between your two countries, Serbia and Kosovo, looking for a possible exchange of territories against the signature of a peace treaty. And do you think that it could be but Germany refused because they don't want to have change of boundaries and very eager to avoid that. Do you think that maybe in some days it could be kind of exit of crisis? And do you think it's still a would-be solution?
Just like Moscow is unhappy with the implosion and disintegration of Soviet Union, likewise also Belgrade was not happy with disintegration of former Yugoslavia, which, by the way, they caused. Now we live at times when this project of land swap, territorial exchange, has failed, but I must say that the idea did not die out. And I see that quite often whenever I meet or hear President of Serbia speaking publicly or engaging in talks in Brussels. Because, you know, fantasy might not be real in terms of factual reality, but it conditions thinking and behavior and actions of actors. So people who have been daydreaming for a few years about partitioning Kosovo, changing of the borders, it's very difficult for them to get rid of their nostalgia and bitterness and engage properly in a solution which would be democratic and European. This project of land swap was having a counterpart also in Kosovo by predecessor of mine, because back then it was more seen as a quick fix, snap deal between authoritarian leaders who can speak of the people as their family and who can discuss about territories of the states as if they are private property. But that had a kind of a feudalistic, monarchic, royal flavor, which is not there anymore. But again, I must admit that in spite of projects failing, idea is still there, but without any probability to come alive. So faster we normalize relations with de jure and de facto recognition, it will be better for everyone. I'm saying de jure and de facto because, for example, Serbia recognizes Bosnia and Herzegovina de jure, but not de facto, because it has special relationships with Republika Srpska, which uses veto power to undermine democratic state building. And in case of Kosovo, Serbia recognizes us de facto on so many aspects, but not de jure. Yeah. So we need de jure and de facto to be together all over the region, and at the same time, a certain symmetry of minority rights. I know that minority rights cannot be identical, but also huge disbalances between minority rights across the region cause from time to time tensions that might attract certain centers for destabilization.
There is some disagreement between your country and EU regarding the recent crisis on municipalities, the election of mayor. Do you think this crisis is over, is settled, or it's still going on?
We have offered a solution which is a legal one, and that is whoever is not satisfied with the mayor has Article 72 of the law on local self-government, which says that 20% of the electoral body of voters can make a petition and trigger a general vote in the municipality to terminate the mandate of the mayor. So I look forward to people getting together, organizing, mobilizing, and trigger early elections, and I will be there to facilitate and help. I understand that the turnout was very low in April this year, but however, these mayors that are at their offices are the only legitimate ones. The others have no legitimacy whatsoever. So to have a proper, full legitimacy of mayors, we need early elections. I'm fully aware and acknowledge that. But at the same time, we need legal process to get there. And I'm showing my political will to help Serbs of Kosovo towards that end. Serbian language in Kosovo is official language all over our country in every level of administration. They have 10 reserve seats in the parliament out of 120, but unfortunately they are boycotting the parliament. And I have a Serbian minister, Nenad Rašić, and his deputy, Radojica Radomirović. One comes from the south, the other from the north. So majority of Serbs are integrated. But I believe that socioeconomic development, on the other hand, coupled with stopping of Belgrade bullying Serbs first and foremost, is something that can unite us.
Your economic success could be a factor of stabilization regarding these minorities?
Yes, of course, because I won on a ticket of jobs and justice, and we're doing both. Because when people have this sense of fairness of the institutions, they integrate. Those who integrate, they live better. On the other hand, once you get a job, you can plan more and, again, live better. So I look forward to see more and more Serbs and Albanians together in trade unions, in student organizations, in business associations, and so on and so forth.
You have mentioned two countries which have a policy of destabilizing the others, Russia and Iran. Is Iran playing a role in the Balkans?
Not in Kosovo, but in Albania, they have been engaged actively in cyber attacks. Unfortunately, quite successfully in a couple of occasions. But again, they are projecting their hegemony wherever they can. And I see a certain cooperation between Tehran and Moscow, but only the later. Russian Federation is much more interested about Kosovo because President Putin sees his ascendance to power in relation to NATO intervention in spring 1999, when genocide of Milosevic troops in Kosovo was stopped. Let us not forget that in June 1999, Kosovo gets liberated. Putin gets in power in August 1999. And in January 2000, he's alone in power without Yeltsin. So he is very much preoccupied with Kosovo because he hates that we are a success story of combining economic development and democratic progress, but also a success story of NATO intervention, perhaps in contrast to interventions in Iraq and Afghanistan. So Kosovo shines as an example of Western military humanitarian intervention, which bothers a lot despotic President Putin.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. We have still 7 minutes, not one more. If you have questions, there is a micro, please.
Thank you. Good that you're here. My name is Lano. I come from a think tank in Brussels, SEPS, which, by the way, has done a lot on the Western Balkans. What is preventing the EU to give you the candidate status? Who's preventing this? What's going on there? If I compare this to Serbia, which has got the candidate status and with whom we are negotiating since 2012, you're still waiting. And I see von der Leyen going often to Serbia. I think she was there again a week or 2 weeks ago, and then there is a lot of criticism in Brussels that she doesn't get too much. But I think she's been there 3 times over the last year. I don't know whether she's met you and whether she's met promises to you, but if I hear you, of course, in a microcosmos compared to Ukraine, your case is also very important. So there should be much more support from the EU also towards your starting accession negotiations. Now we have last Wednesday also said that we will recognize or give candidate status, at least propose it for Georgia, but we still haven't done it for Kosovo, if I'm correct.
I met with Madam President von der Leyen twice in few months recently, once in Athens in Greece, and then she visited Pristina, Kosovo, prior to going to Montenegro and Serbia. I look forward to have great say in implementing this growth plan. On 15th of December last year in Prague, I handled official application of Republic of Kosovo to Czech presidency of European Council for EU membership. And I'm asking from President von der Leyen to send me the questionnaire with thousands of questions that I will carefully and patiently answer. I ask for no backdoor nor fast track to EU accession. I see European Union as homegrown, yet not self-made. We need help, but homegrown. However, it will depend from her and from European Council in order us to get questionnaire and to get candidate status as the last one in European Union. I think that one of the reasons why we still don't have candidate status is that we still don't have visa liberalization. We're going to get it only on the 1st of January next year. So finally, we're getting visa liberalization. And I can imagine that because we did not have visa liberalization, it was very easy for them not to give us candidate status. But once we get visa liberalization, the visa regime gets lifted. I hope and believe that next year we can get candidate status and finally show with our work how committed and dedicated we are for EU membership. We have no alternative. Europe is our continent. EU is our destiny. And we want to both benefit and contribute to European Union, since I believe that it is the most important historical process and political project of peace and prosperity since the Second World War. It should be nurtured and protected together.
Thank you. Another question?
Hi, Prime Minister, I'm from Indonesia.
Please, you have a micro.
Hi, Prime Minister. I'm from Indonesia, and I think there's a historical parallel because Indonesia had East Timor parted in a very painful and violent way, but now we have the best of relations because both leaders agreed to look forward and to bury the past. Yeah. My question to you, listening to your remarks, what do you think Serbia's intention with regard to Kosovo is? Is it to reclaim Kosovo, or is it to create permanent instability? What would it be? If you can explain that.
Very good question.
Yeah. I think that on one hand, they would like to see partitioning of Kosovo. They would like territorial compensation for their wrongdoings. But it is not possible. On the other hand, we are witnessing destabilization attempts in a rotative manner in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Kosovo, neighbors of Serbia. Sometimes in last years also in North Macedonia. So the neighbors of Serbia, as long as they are not part of EU, are not safe from Serbia. So this should be also taken into account in Brussels. They are definitely angry with disintegration of Yugoslavia because they thought that they can destroy it and get half of it. It didn't turn out so. And now they want wrongdoings of 20th century turned into bitterness in 21st century to compensate by getting some influence either in surrounding capitals of their country or by getting new territories. It's a very 19th century mindset. I think that European Union can help us a great deal. And that's why the European integration process is the railway in which all those who want to be should be and pace fast. I also look forward to have recognition from Indonesia because I think we have no open issues and would be very good to start cooperation, bilateral relations, trade exchange, and economic cooperation.
Thank you very much. So the time is over. It's running short, but it's over. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. It was a wonderful session. And I think that for everybody, it's a better occasion to know a little bit more your country and your policy. And I hope the best for yourself and your country. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.